And tell me about casting your movie then. What was your kind of goal or plan to when you were casting it? And what was your
I mean, most people's names were written into the script.
Oh really?
Like I was Barbie Margot, and it said Ken Ryan Gosling. Like
Wow.
everyone, Greta kind of manifested the cast she got. Also, everyone was so keen to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people signed on to do like a long movie where they've got a pretty small role. And
Yeah.
agents were like, why would we let our client be busy for this long and for this much screen time? But, their clients would be like, no, I want to do it. I want to work with these people and I want to work with Greta. And we just said from the start, like, let's make a massive dance party, invite everyone. And
Yeah.
it was like that on set. Like, it was so fun. Every day was so fun. And we'd be playing music and we would dance in the morning. Like, the crew cast, everyone would like dance in the morning
Really?
just to like
Oh.
get everyone. It was so funny because we were shooting at Leavesden. Other films like the Fast movie, like Fast 10 or whatever,
yeah.
they'd like come over and they're like SWAT gear kind of be like, what's going on in here? And we're like, it's Barbie Land, come in. And
Wow.
people were just like gravitating towards the set because and our actors, everyone would come in on days that they weren't even working because
Just to hang out.
because it was so
Aw.
fun. Like you just wanted to be there. Did you think so many people were gonna watch a movie about the making of the atomic bomb?
No. Christopher Nolan was always determined that it would be released in the summer as a big tentpole movie. That was always his plan, and he has this kind of superstition around that date, the
Do all his
21st,
movies come out on that day?
in and around the 21st of July, or it could be always the 21st. They always come out then.
I mean, it's a good date.
It's a good day. It
We
is
picked that
now.
date too.
Yeah, I know.
I remember one of the producers, Chuck
Yeah.
Groven, called me because we worked together on some other projects.
Okay.
And he was like, I think you guys should move your date. And I was like, we're not moving our date. If you're scared to be up against us, then you move your date. And he's like, we're not moving our date. I just think it'd be better for you to move. And I was like, we're not moving. I think this is a really great pairing, actually. I think it's like,
Well,
it's a perfect double billing, Oppenheimer and Barbie.
that was a good instinct.
Clearly the world agreed.
Yeah,
Thank
they
God.
did. But I think that both of these films show the appetite that the audience has for cinema.
I'm always like, everyone talks about the algorithm. I'm like,
Yeah.
how on earth is an algorithm tracking me? Because I have such an eclectic taste.
Yeah.
If you look, you'd be like, wow, she's going from, that black and white film from the 20s to Love Island. So,
Yeah.
like, what box do I put her in?
Yeah.
Same thing. But the fact that people were going and being like, I'll watch Oppenheimer first, then Barbie. I was like, see,
Yeah.
people like everything. People are weird. People have
Yeah.
specific and wide-ranging tastes.
And they don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Audiences don't like being told you should see this or you should see that. They will decide and they will generate the interest themselves. And I think what happened with both of our movies was a case in point of that the audience decided, that this was correct and this was right.
I think they were also really excited by the filmmakers.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think
People
you're right.
are like itching for the next Chris Nolan film and itching for the next Greta Gerwig
Yes.
film. To get them at the same time was, exciting.
And how about you? What was your process then? Because it's such a difficult character it's this kind of 20th century iconic, not a real person.
Yeah.
How did you figure it out?
So weird prepping Barbie as a character. Because it was like all my usual tools didn't apply for this character. So I usually, I have the things that I do, and I work with an acting coach, and I work with a dialect coach, and I work with a movement coach, and I read everything, and I watch all the things. And when it's a real life person or whatever, it's the things that you were talking about. If it's a made up person, whatever, I rely on animal work a lot. And I was, maybe like 45 minutes into pretending to be a flamingo or whatever, and I was suddenly like, it's not working. The animal isn't helping me with Barbie. I was like, oh God, I don't know how to find her. And it was like, normally I do a couple, I have a couple of things I normally do. So I make up childhood memories. So I think of say half a dozen core childhood memories, and that helps me explain why they do the things they do in the script.
Right.
So this is the first time they were extremely humiliated in a public setting, or this is the first time they felt betrayed, or whatever. But I couldn't do that for her because she was invented out of a vacuum and lived in a, so all the things I normally did didn't work. The animal work didn't work. The childhood memories didn't work. Even the accent wasn't something to cling on to. Normally I'm like, okay, what accent are we doing? So they grew up there and what time and da-da-da. And even that, it was like, no, I should be from nowhere, but kind of general, but so I was really struggling. It was like she was so smooth and shiny. I had like nothing to grab onto, and I was like, I don't know where you are, even though she was written beautifully in the script. Anyways, I went to Greta and I was like, help me. I don't know where to start with this character. And I was like, she was like, okay, what are you scared of? And I was like, I don't want her to seem dumb and ditzy, but she's also not meant to know anything. She's meant to be completely naive and ignorant. And Greta found this episode on This American Life, a podcast, where it was a woman who doesn't or can't introspect, like doesn't have the voice in her head.
Oh, wow.
That's like constantly narrating life the way we all do. And so that was like an instance where I was like, oh, so she doesn't have that voice. And this woman's like, got a PhD and is extremely smart, but just doesn't have that internal monologue.
Is she happy?
Yeah, totally. And
is she happier, do you think?
God, I wondered about that. When the interview was asking her, like, so if you're like looking out a window, she's like, I'm just looking out a window. She's like, it didn't even occur to me that I didn't introspect until one day I suddenly realized as a grown woman that my parents were one day going to die. And she was like inconsolable, thinking that. And her boyfriend was like, what's wrong? She's like, my parents are going to die one day. And he was like, had you not thought about that before? She was like, no. She kind of thinks exactly what's in front of her, like a spotlight to what exactly is in front of her at the time.
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So things like that, I was like, wow. And then Greta's like, references for, okay, I want the cadence of your speech to be like, we did this thing called movie church. So every Sunday morning we would invite all the cast and crew, whoever wanted to come to the Notting Hill Electric Cinema, which is such a good cinema, and watch a movie that was somehow related to Barbie.
You actually built the sets?
Yeah.
For real, yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. We built that whole cul-de-sac. The dream houses are like several stories high. Everything's like hand-painted, all the backdrops hand-painted. We made all of Barbie Land in miniature, filmed the miniatures. Everything was very tactile, and the transportation sequence, all that. It's like practical and like a diorama, and there's like, literally people like holding a rod with a butterfly dangling off it. And, everything was just, the handmade quality of it was so intrinsic to the movie anyway, because it's meant to be a toyetic world. It's meant to be toys, and you should feel like you could reach in and grab it all.
But it does make a difference, I think. I mean, I don't know if the audience knows on a kind of a conscious level, but I really believe that they experience on a subliminal level that this is happening in camera.
I agree, and I know Chris Nolan definitely lives by the same rules of like everything's in camera, everything's practical. And I think what CGI can do, what VFX can do, is like incredible, and as a tool to complement work, it's amazing. But when it's relied on too heavily, there's something about that like infinite quality to like looking at something that's just like could go on forever, where I don't know, I find I get detached. I'm kind of like, something in me can sense that it's not real, and so I don't really care. I don't really care if that thing explodes or that building falls down, because it's not real. Like, you just know when it's not real.
Yeah, I think we do now. I think definitely we're kind of inured to it at this stage. On Oppenheimer, there was no set bills. It was all real locations. Every single location was the actual place. A lot of it was like Oppenheimer's house, where we shot in New Mexico, was actually where he lived. Yeah, with Kitty. Myself and Emily were filming in there,
How good's Emily?
She is astonishing.
I love her
in the movie.
so much.
I think there's just like, she can do anything, Emily. It's kind of...
I would watch her in anything. I don't need a log line. I don't need a title. If I see she's in it, I'm like, I'm in. I'm going to love it. She's so charming.
Mind-blowing.
But yeah, so you shot in New Mexico. Where else?
Yeah, and I think you can feel the kind of, this sounds kind of like cliche or hokey or something, but I feel like you can feel the vibrations in the room. I feel like they transfer to the character. I feel like we then have an extra level of connection or respect for the environment or for the characters, particularly if they're real life characters that actually live there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we shot in Oppenheimer's office in Princeton, which was right next to Einstein's office in the real location. And there was many of those instances where you feel you kind of, it's goosebumps, Like I'm not a superstitious person or anything like that, but
No, you feel the vibes.
you feel it.
Yeah.
Chris wanted that.
Yeah.
And for example, the last sequence in the movie, we'll flash backwards and forwards to it, but the whole big hearing at the end, that was in this horrible, shitty, little bureaucratic, tiny room somewhere outside of LA. And and it was really hot, and we were all of us stuffed into this room with this huge IMAX camera. We could have easily built that in a big stage and pulled away the walls. But Chris wanted it to feel like claustrophobic, sort of awful feeling that you would have had in one of those rooms. And they deliberately wanted to put him in a room like that to make him feel like he was worthless and that it was kind of meaningless and to demean him. Wow. And it worked. Yeah.
Can I ask something off topic?
Sure.
In my opinion, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are the people who are obsessed with Peaky Blinders, and then there's the people who haven't seen Peaky Blinders.
Right.
I obviously sit in the first category. So can we please talk about Tommy fucking Shelby just for like 1 minute?
Sure, if you like, yeah.
What was it like?
Oh.
I mean, that was years and years of your life.
Yeah, it's like 10. That was also 10-year adventure. That we started shooting that at the end of 2012.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I love the song that plays at the very end of the last season.
Oh yeah.
All the Tired Horses.
Yeah, Lisa O'Neill.
I love that song so much.
Yeah.
It's on my cry playlist. Like,
Yes,
I cry on set.
There's a Dylan song and she took it and just like.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Love it.
She's special.
Is there going to be a spin-off movie?
I mean, I'm open to the idea.
Really?
I've always thought that if there's more story to tell.
Of course there's more story to tell.
Well, we'll see. I mean,
rode off on a horse. Like, what now?
Who knows? I guess.
Please do it. Please.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I mean, I'm totally open to the idea. But, I also do think it was a kind of perfect
I know.
6 seasons.
I know.
And we managed.
You don't want to wreck it.
Well, it's kind of sometimes hard to kind of move into the film format. And I do like the ambiguity of the ending.
I know.
But I'm always open to like a great script. Who wouldn't be?
So
Who wouldn't be?
Good.
Oh,
Do people just come up to you all the time?
But a lot, yeah, a lot.
And say, Tommy fucking Shelby.
They do, yeah.
And have you lost a lung smoking all those cigarettes?
It wasn't great. But then, of course, I did Oppenheimer and it's like a pipe and a
I literally thought that I was watching it. I was like, we need to get him to a doctor. He's smoked so many cigarettes on
the
screen.
thing about those...
The herbals.
Now they have a warning on the herbals as well.
Do they?
Yes, you can't win.
Shit.